Autoimmune disease is a situation in which the system is attacking itself. We mostly think of autoimmune disease as something that happens on a physical level. And in today's video, I would like to touch on the idea that codependency is the equivalent of autoimmune disease for your energetic and emotional levels. My name is Pablo. This channel is Meditation Amsterdam. I've been receiving quite a few comments and people reaching out to help understand how to get rid of their codependency. I want to go a little bit deeper into that in this video. And I want to start by being extremely critical of channels out there which are receiving millions of views from people who are essentially dedicated to making little lists of the 3 red flags that will tell you if you're dealing with a narcissist, or how to enforce your no contact when you are being emotionally abused, how to make sure that your boundaries are the right ones, and here's the list of things that you should do and shouldn't do. I would like to submit to you that that is practical advice that might help in the short term to stop the bleeding and stop the essentially leaking of your energetics and your emotions in a toxic situation. But that if you really want to resolve your codependency, you need to imagine that you are dealing with a situation that is a disease of identity. It is not a psychological or just emotional thing, but it is really at the very heart of the way you respond and who you believe yourself to be when the situation is even ever so slightly uncertain and presents you with the option to either be assertive and own your own center, or whether to give your power and your center away in exchange for validation and the avoidance of conflict. Unfortunately, that primary response is at the very core of your identity. It is in the very heart of what you believe yourself to be, and therefore those responses are responses that carry enormous amount of primal pull inside you. This is not something that can be tackled with lists or tactics or attitudes or, sticking to your principles or things of that kind. It can only be tackled by dismantling your identity, your core identity, the very core of what you believe yourself to be and how you see the world and how you respond in the face of fear and in the face of validation being offered and then perhaps withdrawn. The way to do that is essentially one of resolution of trauma at first, but not just environmental trauma in which things may have gone wrong, but really your core developmental trauma. Developmental trauma is what happens when you as a young infant realize that you are a lonely, sentient entity surrounded by things that you cannot control. This is your core wound. That core wound creates either a yin or a yang imbalance. And when that imbalance is not tempered by a well-developed personality, it becomes then full-blown codependence or full-blown narcissism. Now, because psychology, and even worse, pop psychology, only try to resolve things on the level of personality, then they are trying to essentially improve the way you do things, the way you think, and the way you feel. But all that doing, thinking, and feeling is still on the level of being a personality. Whereas in reality, your personality is an outgrowth of the imbalance that you are at the moment. In other words, if you keep trying to improve things on the level of personality and be less codependent in your thoughts, your attitudes, your feelings, you are never going to get to the root of it. The root of it is your very sense of identity. As long as your sense of identity is co-opted by your personality, it stands no chance of being in true balance, because the personality is the defense mechanism. The personality and identification with it is the core problem at hand. And so you need to go way deeper than the level of personality. You need to go into your very energetics. You need to go to the very centers of fear and self-preservation in your psychosomatic matrix to resolve this proper. It's extremely painful, confusing to do so. It requires a lot of guided help. It requires perhaps months of subjecting yourself to the very places in yourself that you do not want to see. And anything shorter than that, anything that includes just some behavioral changes, some putting boundaries in place or whatever you call it, does not resolve the core problem. And anybody who tells you that should be selling pencils from a cup, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't tackle the issue. The issue can only be tackled through practices that are psychosomatic in nature, extremely deep. You can use psychology to tease out the problems, but you cannot use psychology, let alone pop psychology and pop advice, or the lists of the 10 red flags of how to deal with a narcissist to tackle this. It needs to be tackled through deep trauma resolution. The modalities are several. You have breath work. You have body-based trauma release. You have psychedelics, which are now very much in fashion, very effective, although, well, each of these modalities has their pros and cons, right? You have the meditative practices, which are also very effective. Whichever vehicle you take, you need to be able to have a very high level of sincerity with yourself, to stop identifying as some sort of empath that is above it all, or that is just like that, or whose supposed goodness is being taken advantage of. And you need to get serious about this, because what narcissists and assholes do is they simply expose a toxicity that you carry within, that is already there, that has always been there, and that is just waiting for the right conditions in the environment to rear its ugly head. And now suddenly you are fully exposed, and your people-pleasing tendencies get co-opted against you, and because they're already there, and in essence you're attacking yourself. In other words, people don't transgress your boundaries, you transgress your boundaries. So it's an autoimmune situation, and hence the title of the video. So I wanted to make this video to start paving the ground for more concrete discussions about this, to make sure that you are getting the right level of advice out there, that you are tackling this on the right level to transform not just your interaction on a romantic basis or with people, but to transform the entire identity that you've been carrying around, which is the only thing that will do the trick for this. Nothing short of this will solve the situation at hand. Now, if you think that this is valuable content, it makes it more available to others if you share, like, and subscribe. I'm also very curious to hear what you have to say about this, so do share it in the comment section. And as usual, I'll be back with more. And until then, thanks for listening, and cheerio. Bye-bye.